All right, so Sunderland in the Premier League at home, off the back of a drab performance against Brentford, has left United quite dry, quite limp, not really much to look forward to, and with a rather unanimously, a rather united, dare I say it, fan base in the mutual feeling towards the manager in Ruben Amorim. And we've all had our criticisms, we've all had our beliefs as to what the issues are with him and what the shortcomings are and how we can go about fixing them and the ways in which he himself, Ruben Amorim, could tweak things to improve his situation. And unfortunately, regarding the comments across the week, it doesn't seem like there's any change in any regard as to what is going to be happening tomorrow with this game, and perhaps what may happen after said event. And first things first, defiance in the case of Ruben Amorim is insisting I will not change. It's not the system. There's conflicting reports saying that he is. Um, and I have seen a video of one of Sir Alex Ferguson's former coaches as to what he would see to change about this Man United team. And I can't lie, I looked at that and I thought, that seems like a system that makes sense. It's quite simple, it's quite definitive, and you sort of get, a good read of all the different players that would play in that system. I know a lot of people might say formation wise, it's a formation that we've lost in before, say under Ten Hag, because he went with a 4-2-3-1. And to be honest, whilst sure we've played the 4-2-3-1 before and it's not worked, at the end of the day, the players that he ideally chose, the sort of names that he went with, and the roles that they would essentially play on the team, I couldn't really disagree with. In the sentiment with him, with this coach was I've forgotten his name completely, but the sentiment was that there's a part of it where the players have their part to, their responsibility to perform. But there's also a responsibility for the manager to know uh, what he has to do to essentially get the best results. And I feel like with one of the biggest complaints about Amorim is that he doesn't play players to strengths, right? He doesn't utilize the correct starting lineups, and the substitutions come out wrong, and player roles are very conflicted, such as Fernandes in the midfield six. He's not a six. He hates being in the six. He wants to be played further forward, but Amorim will insist he's my captain, and it's part of the system. It's the system. It's the system case, and it doesn't have very good optics, to be honest. It doesn't have very good optics. The predicted lineups that Flash Score has gone with is they have such little hope. They fielded 10 players instead of 11. The left attacking 10 is just invisible, just completely invisible. But I'd imagine they probably would have gone with Cunha as he is fully fit. There's no injury concerns there. But they've insisted that buying Diaz in goal again. Don't know what that guy is smoking. Whoever's created this lineup. Luke Shaw, De Ligt, Yoro back three. Luke Shaw's bound to play. Dorgu, Fernandes, Casemiro, Diallo across the middle, and then of course in Burmo, Cunha, and Sesko your front three. Now, I want to say that in terms of a lineup that I would go with, I want to take the page out of the book of this former coach, and I'll say this: with Sunderland, it's a team that you need to be wary of, because they're not a team that will come into this league and just, if we get battered, we get battered. At least we'll play our way. They are very much a well-organised team, a well-structured team, players who know their roles, and players with discipline, most especially players with discipline. So I would combat that with a system that instructs discipline, um, but is very simple to follow. That you do exert a lot of player specialties and qualities um, in individual performances, and on a defensive capacity, show good resolution, good control, good good, as I've said, discipline. It's a back four system. What do you do? 4-2-3-1. Sani Lomans is in goal. Regardless, you need a shot stopper for this one. A back four, and it's intriguing because he did say that in the instance of needing to defend and be more resolute, he switches it to a very compact 4-4-2. And your two front players are Sesko and Fernandez, players that can feed off of each other, with your target man being Sesko. Um, so, yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said about that sort of approach. It's definitely not a system where Ten Hag instructed front six, send everyone forward, overkill on the attacking positional play, but rather just role centric when the opportunity arises. Put yourself into an advantageous position. So he went with a back four, a midfield six, two midfield sixes, much like with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and essentially those two are defence first, more so than anything else, with then your number 10 essentially right ahead of them. In possession of this with Cunha. So I think those midfield two, I'm looking, well, back four first and foremost. Patrick Dorgu, left back. Delict Yoro as your centre backs, with then I'd go with Mazraoui at right back, just because it's a player that is, he seems a bit more steady than Diogo Dalot, with all things after all is said and done. And Dorgu is essentially a player that's going to be playing more attacking support down the left-hand side. So you've got two sixes. I would look at Ugarte and Kobe Minu with those two, or Casemiro, dependent on how people feel about him. And then we're looking at possibly then Bruno up top in the 10. Of course, if he's playing more counter, he's one of those two front players. So if he's got more space on a counter-attacking sense, he's got more passing lanes he can utilise. You've got Brian Mbeumo on the right wing, play much closer to the touchline, stretch defences out a little bit. You've got Cunha on the left wing, and positionally will play left wing, but has the capabilities to come more narrow to allow for Dorgu to play on the overlap effectively. And then, of course, Sesko up top in the number 9's position. So it seemed quite simple, quite straightforward, but it focuses on what players you have and what players, what the strong suit of each of those players well and truly is. And if you've got two players, one that's a 10 to directly feed off of, play it out wide to stretch defences, could choose to go right and make things a bit more interesting. Could choose left, where Cunha could play on the outside of a fullback, could play on the inside closer to where Bruno is, and Dorgu is the extra man in your attack. Quite possibly, whoever it is. And, it just seems like it's quite straightforward, but the players that you have, they've got their instructions. It's very simple, very easy to follow, and it's a bit more no nonsense. If possession's not in your favour and the momentum is going against you, the runner players against you, sit back in a compact 4-4-2, soak up the pressure, and then utilise players on the break. And Mbeumo knows all too well how to utilise that. So does Cunha. Um, if you've got Casemiro and Kobe Minu and or Ugarte, they can utilise and start that attack, as well as a couple of fullbacks that perhaps can be quite good at carrying the ball as well, with utilising a bit of pace, most specifically with Dorgu, because he is a quick player. Patrick Dorgu, he is a very quick player. So that was interesting insight. Just a very straightforward. Just take a random starting 11, and that is that's your specialty right there. That's how you get the best out of that particular starting 11. And it's a very simple approach. I have to say that it sounds a lot nicer when you see someone um, talking about a system, formation, and it makes sense. Whereas you look at when Amorim plays, you look at his system, his formation, his team selections, and it's a bit of a baffler. It is a bit of a baffler. People aren't necessarily overly clear on what the instructions are. And then on top of that, you have commitment issues. Perhaps you are testing players' mettle by playing them in positions that they don't really want to play, and they hope that the manager sees the shortcoming with that and rectifies that issue. But Amorim is stubborn as is. So his defiance, he insists that it's not the system. When we lose games, it's not the system. Oh, it's just your opinion. Well, it's not necessarily an opinion when everyone seemingly says the same thing. It feels a bit more factual, a little bit closer to factual, a little bit closer to fact than it is to fiction. So share with me what your thoughts are on the on a team selection, whether you would agree to go with a system change. Will there be a system change? Some reports say there will be, others will say no, no changes whatsoever. And even if Amorim loses this game, no one's going to bat an eyelid in the boardroom, at least. No one's going to batter an eyelid. And that's not very good optics. It's not good reading. So hopefully, we are surprised. We are pleasantly surprised tomorrow. Fingers crossed with the 3 o'clock kickoff that we can utilise players correctly. Players get a break from all of this constant heaping of negative energy, that they can ride it out and actually find impact on the pitch. I think people are saying, please Cunha score or assist tomorrow, so you're not Agent 007. Currently, the 007 holder at the moment is Florian Wirtz at Liverpool. So we're sort of hoping that Cunha can break that. And then we don't have to worry too much about finding more memes for Manchester United. So yeah, that's my feeling about that. Interesting talk about managers potentially to replace Ruben Amorim, and I felt a little bit less certain about one manager that I could see coming in, that apparently, according to sources, wouldn't turn down the chance to manage United if they came knocking, is in one Oliver Glasner. He started the season off very well, very, very well. Currently, I think they say 19 games unbeaten at the moment in all comps, which, is very respectable for Crystal Palace as a Europa. I think they're Europa Conference League, aren't they? Yeah, in Europa Conference League. Won their game quite convincingly against Dynamo Kiev. And fair plays to them. Really fair plays to them. Oliver Glasner spoke about his systematic approach and how he's changed a lot, based around the squads he has, the players he has. Utilises players focusing more on what their specialties are, what their strengths are, and trying to minimise player weakness. So Maybe that's what United needs. Not so much another manager that, oh, he plays the same formation as Amorim, so it won't be different. No, a manager that looks at a team and thinks, what formation is best and what is each player's specialty and where can I meet in the middle? And I think that's what we need with a manager, a critical thinker, someone who assesses analyzes the situation, and as I've said many times before, if a situation's bad, they'll make the best of a bad situation and not sink the Titanic in throwing it all out the window and saying, well, it's my way or the highway, it's my system, and if we all die, we all die. As simple as. I don't believe that that's the correct approach at this juncture. Let me know what you guys think. Whether you agree with that, whether you think United should go for a manager that tries to utilise player strengths and fundamentally uses a system that prioritises getting the best out of players based off of what their strong suits are, and hopefully, if that ever becomes our reality, perhaps Ineos find it a little bit more easier, perhaps easier with player recruitment over player identities that they want to bring. And I suppose we can say as well with Oliver Glasner, um, I suppose utilising some player youth, integrating it here or there. I think a lot of the Manchester United's club model is obviously sign young players cheap. Perhaps if they're not quite the next big thing, you can sell them on for profit. But maybe Oliver Glasner can look at places like the academy if he were to come to United and say, well, there's a couple of players that I like here. There are a couple of players that I like here that I think there are flourishing talents with a very specific set of skills. So we'll have to see what the future holds. But hopefully it's not a case that Ratcliffe decides he wants to give the whole season to Amorim, because we might not be a Premier League team next season if that's going to be the case. So let's see what happens. Apparently, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has apparently moved back into Cheshire. Does that mean anything? Perhaps, I don't know. Maybe Glasner might be just a summer appointment, and we opt for Ollie to lift spirits. Who knows? Who really knows? But let me know what you guys think. What your feelings are about that matter. The score prediction, if I were to give one, I'm going to say the mood's going to be on the floor, so I'm probably going to say a draw. I'll probably go with a 2-2 draw. I know not Brentford, but Burnley at home. We made a meal out of that game, and I don't see if Amorim's going to be defiant, then so's the score lines, I'm afraid. And I don't necessarily see Burnley rolling out the white one. I don't see Burnley holding up as much of a fight as, say, Sunderland were. And Sunderland do have a bit of quality in that team, capable of hammering home some big upset. So, not to say that United losing to Sunderland would be much of an upset, but you never know. Anyways, I've gone with I'm going to go 2-2 as a draw result for me. Let me know what your score predictions are in the comment section, and don't forget to smash the likes and subscribe. And how do we think this game is going to go? Is it going to be the final game of Ruben Amorim, or is it the beginning of the end of Manchester United Football Club, full stop? Who knows what Ineos have in store for us. But pop your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. Take care, people. Stay blessed, stay safe. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow tomorrow evening, tomorrow night, with the match review. Take care, people. Stay blessed.